And this complete setup is known as Benko Gambit accepted, and after that, here Wesley goes for e3, opening the lines of this bishop, which also guards this b5 pawn. Okay, so here as you can see, white is targeting this d7 pawn by his queen, knight and bishop. So that's why to defend this, here Pragg brings his queen back to b7. And now you can see black is targeting this g2 pawn, but you might be shocked that instead of playing f3, white can bring his queen to e2, which first of all develops the queen. And suppose if black captured on g2 by bishop takes g2, targeting this rook, but now comes rook to g1, and if queen to e4 asking for queen exchange, here black can simply push f3 attacking this queen as well as this bishop. So that's why here the best move for black is to exchange the queens and simplify the game. But some of you might be thinking of giving a check from h4 square by queen to h4 check, but guys, that will be a huge mistake. This is because now here white can simply slide his king to d1, and after suppose black defends his bishop. Now you might be shocked that in this position white can actually sacrifice his knight by knight takes d7, and suppose if knight takes d7, now white can sacrifice his another piece by bishop takes d7. And basically we are doing this so that we can open the king, and the best move for black is to not take this and instead slide this king to e7. But suppose if he captured by king takes d7, now comes this amazing sequence, which is queen to b5 check, king to d8, queen to b6 check, king to c8, queen to c6 check, king to b8, queen to e8 check, king to b7, queen to d7 check. And suppose if you go back to b8, then simply bishop to e5 check. So that's why black is forced to go to this a6 square, but now comes b4, and you can see the threat. And suppose if takes bishop to d4, and in the next move black will get checkmated from b5 square. So to stop this, black has to lose his queen, and clearly you can see this position will be completely winning for white. Okay, so in the actual game, after the move, after the move queen to b7, here Wesley goes for queen to h5, threatening to checkmate black. And the best way to defend this is simply g6. But instead, Pragg decides to bring back his bishop to g6. And finally, he captured this knight by his f-pawn. But wait, why not with the move queen takes g6? This is because now white can simply bring his queen to f3, targeting this rook, and suppose if rook to a7, queen to f4, attacking this knight. And the best way to defend this is rook to b7, but black can again go for queen to f3, attacking this rook again and again, and by this you can see white is continuously targeting the weak queen side of black. So that's why he decides to capture this by the f-pawn. And now you can see Pragg is asking for queen exchange so that he can improve his pawn structure. But guys, instead of queen to c7, here capturing this knight on c6 might be the better option for white, so that he can create this double pawn structure. Okay guys, wait. Here after bishop to e7, some of you might be thinking of that why white didn't capture this pawn on g7. This is because suppose if bishop takes g7, here white is targeting this rook, but guys, in this position black can actually sacrifice his rook by rook takes a4, trying to deflect this rook so that he can checkmate white from d1 square. And so suppose if rook to e1, rook to g8, attacking this bishop, and after this bishop goes back, and by this you can see black successfully activated his rook, and by this you can see this position will be slightly better for black. Okay, so let's go back to our move rook to h3. And here white can bring his queen to b7. So yeah, so this is a good move by white, which white can play, which targets this rook. But the problem with that move is now black can actually capture this a4 pawn by his rook. And after rook takes a4, queen to d1 check, and at the end black will capture this rook on a4, and by this you can see black will be a pawn up. Okay, so let's go back to our move rook to f8. So here one thing is clear, that this queen on d5 is creating a huge problem for white. So that's why to deal with this, here Pragg decides to, so here Wesley decides to bring his queen to e5 so that he can exchange this queen and activate his remaining pieces. And now you can see here black is threatening to checkmate on g2, and white can easily tackle this with rook to f3 check, which also attacks this king. But here white made a mistake by playing g3, and the problem with that move is now Pragg finds the best move d3, attacking this queen, and you can see now this pawn is very close to promotion. But guys, instead of queen to c3, here queen to c1 might be the better option for white, so that he can try to stop this d pawn from pushing further. And in this position, the final move by Pragg is rook to e1, and here Wesley So resigned, because now you can see black is threatening to capture this rook on f1 so that he can promote his pawn. And suppose to tackle this, if black brings his queen to if Wesley brings his queen to d6 so that he can keep an eye on this pawn, but this is of no use because black can easily tackle this in multiple ways, like rook to d3, creating a blockade over this pawn, or simply rook takes f1 check. And suppose after king takes f1, queen to e1 check, king to g2, rook takes f2 check, king to h3, queen to f1 check, rook to g2, queen takes g2 check, and finally after king to h4, you can see that's over for black, that's over for white. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.